Hello everybody and welcome to another Managerial Economics video. Today we're going to be talking about monopolistic competition, specifically profit maximization. So the first thing that I did is just to emphasize that nothing has really changed even though we're in the monopolistically competitive world, right? We still have our optimal allocation rule, which states that our profits are maximized when we produce up until the point where the marginal revenue of the last good produced, the amount that it increases the total revenue, is still greater than or equal to the marginal cost, which is the amount that the cost increases when you produce one more good. And, oftentimes in actual industry, it's not one more good, it's 100 or 1,000 or whatever, right? But the concept is the same. The value of incremental analysis, marginal analysis, so looking at things not as a whole, but looking at them as if I'm already producing at some point, how do I maximize my profits given that I'm producing at that point? Do I want to produce more? Do I want to produce less? Okay, that's the way to kind of think about this. So we're given some information from the text. We're told that the demand curve is P equals 200 minus 2Q. And we're told that the cost curve is C of Q is equal to 10 minus 4Q. So the first thing that I do whenever I'm doing a problem like this is I just make sure that, and that's actually why I make sure, because I just went ahead and made a transcription error. I make sure that these signs are correct, okay, in terms of the slope. This is a demand curve, so this means it should have a what? A downward sloping curve. And what does a downward sloping curve mean? That means it should have a negative slope, which it does, right? -2 is negative. Awesome. Now, cost curve, supply curve, right? Cost curves really are just supply curves. So supply, it should be upward sloping, right? And so as a result, it should have a positive slope. And, turns out it does. +4 is positive slope. Excellent. So just a little sniff test, gut check, just to make sure that things are where they're supposed to be. So we are asked, where should we produce in order to maximize profits? Well, there's a little step that we have to do in between here. We have to go ahead and actually find or calculate the revenue curve for the firm, okay? So we know that revenue is equal to what? The price times whatever it is that you end up selling. And we're told that the price is a function of quantity, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to just put that in for P. So we have R of Q is equal to 200 minus 2Q. Both of those terms are going to be multiplied by Q. So this Q is going to interact with that term, and it's going to interact with that term. So our final revenue equation is going to look something like this. 200 times Q minus 2 times Q squared. And so we get Q squared because Q to the 1 times Q to the 1 is equal to Q squared. That's just our simple exponent addition, right? If we have x to the A times x to the B, that equals x to the A plus B. So similar thing going on right here. So now we're going to either have to do some calculus or we're going to have to use the shortcuts that the book provides in order to get our marginal revenue curve. Switch to a different marker here. So our marginal revenue curve, still a function of quantity, we're going to go ahead and if there's a Q to the 1, we're just going to treat it as if it's a 1. So this ends up being 200 times 1, which ends up just being 200 itself, right? If it's a Q to the 2, then we're going to multiply whatever this is by 2. So this will be -2 times 2. And then we're going to multiply that term by Q. It'll be 2 minus 1, so Q to the 1 power, or really since it's to the 1 power, we can just say Q. So simplifying this a little bit, we end up with a marginal revenue that's 200 minus 4Q. Okay, halfway there. Now we need the marginal cost. How do we find out the marginal cost? Well, we're told the cost is equal to 10 minus 4Q. And this one, we don't actually need to, multiply again by Q or whatever the case may be. We can just go ahead and find the marginal cost. We can just take the derivative right now from it. And it ends up being that 10 ends up going away and becoming 0. And then just like with before, with the 20 times Q to the, or 200 times Q to the 1 becoming 200, 4 times Q to the 1 is just going to end up with 4 times 1 down here. So my marginal cost is going to be 4. So be sure not to interpret this as 441. It's actually 4 times 1. If that makes sense. Well, that's way too big. All right, so now that we have our marginal cost and our marginal revenue, now it's actually pretty easy to put it all together. So let's go ahead and put it all together. Go back to blue. So we're going to have Q star where, and for these kind of equations, we're just going to equate them. Right? For this kind of optimal allocation, when we're given equations, we're just going to equate them. The reason why it's greater than or equal to is because sometimes you can't produce half a car. And so if producing one more car is going to result in the marginal cost greater than the marginal revenue, you're not going to produce it, right? So that's why it's just because of the fact that some things are chunky. So in this particular circumstance, though, we're given an equation, so we can just go ahead and just set them equal to each other. So marginal revenue equals marginal cost. I'm literally just pulling things down. So we end up with 200 minus 4Q equals 4. And then we just solve for Q. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to, the easiest way is probably going to subtract 4 from both sides. That ends up giving me 196 minus 4Q is equal to 0. Since there's nothing over there, it just becomes 0. Then I'm going to add 4Q to both sides. That's going to annihilate this 4Q. We end up with 196 equals 4Q. And if you divide 196 by 4, 196 divided by 4. My handy dandy computer tells me that the answer is 49 units. All right, everyone, I hope that helped. If it doesn't, please go ahead and send me an email. I can do a different problem with different numbers. The biggest thing, I think, is just the fact that you've got to do this revenue part, right? And so we go ahead and we just want to take the marginal revenue and the marginal cost, and then we end up being like, wait, -4 is equal to 4? So you have to remember, what is it that marginal revenue is telling us? It's telling us how much our revenue increases, and revenue is not just the price, it's the price times the quantity. All right, everyone, that's it for today. I'll be recording another video this weekend over the Cournot oligopoly model and first leader's advantage and things like that, so please stay tuned for that. And as always, if there's any questions, please don't hesitate to email me. And thank you, Stephen, for the suggestion for this video. You have enriched us all by asking that, so thank you so much. All right, have a great rest of your day and a great weekend, everybody. Bye.